Welcome back. It's Don't Repeat What Mommy Says,
Don't
which
do
has
it.
been like a really common phrase in my house lately.
Yeah.
Um, and then there was the wonderful dad was over here getting a haircut, and I forget what he said, but Henry repeated him, and he goes, "Don't repeat what Grandpa says." So,
And then, and he's the one who came up with that rule: don't repeat what mommy says. And here he is swearing with the grandkids.
like a sailor, I'm like,
I know he's been
dude.
living with me too long. Good habits don't rub off bad ones.
I know, and like I'm trying to like I got Henry the other day. I went to go say something like "oh shit" or something. I said "oh poop," and Henry thought it was the funniest thing. He kept walking around. He'd drop something, go "oh poop."
You want to hear
So
something
I'm like,
funny? Because you know Aaliyah's the swear police.
yeah.
I was about to drop an F bomb, and I was like, for crying out loud. And she goes, "Good job, Moo. I'm so proud of you."
So
What are you looking at?
today we're talking hot button parenting topics. So I was trying to come up with show topics, and like my brain's fried. I don't know. I got nothing. So I
Well, we've
asked
talked about a
AI.
lot of stuff too.
We have, and I mean, I'm sure there's stuff we can and probably will rehash in the future.
For
Um,
sure.
but no, I asked an AI. I was like, "So what are some parenting topics?" And it gave me a bunch of like really boring shit. So I was like,
Okay.
"Okay, what are hot button parenting topics?" And then it gave me a new list. So we're gonna just basically run through what the AI said, um, and talk about it. I don't know. We're gonna talk about shit. So
Let's
the
talk about
first
like
one.
AI.
AI. Oh my
It's like we
gosh.
can't even live without it anymore. Maybe we
That
can have
was
AI parent our children someday.
that was actually one of the topics it recommended was AI in parenting. Is it a helpful tool or is it causing stress?
I like AI. I know everybody's like anti AI, but I think it depends on how you use it and what you're using it for. I mean, I can find information so much faster. And then there's like the fun stuff, like we did that cartoon,
Mm-hmm.
and it was cute and it's fun and whatever.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a weird perspective on it because I used to work in AI. So, like, you know this, but the audience
Yeah.
might not. I actually co-founded an AI company um, a while ago with a friend of mine, and
Pre children.
pre-children, yes. I don't do that anymore. But a big part of what I used to do was train AI. So I've seen a lot of good AI and a lot of bad AI, and I've worked with it a lot to know like how to kind of circumvent some of the stupidity it'll try to push. So what your AIs, like your Chat GPTs, your Grok, your Claude, whatever others they have, Gemini, a lot of what they're doing is they're pulling basically like the top 10 Google results when you ask it a question and summarizing it.
You
So
can make it do a deeper dive though.
you can make it to a deeper dive. So if you have a question for AI, like I want to know more about this, you can make it to a deeper dive, and you can also make it show you the links that it used
Mm.
to pull that information so you can actually review it yourself. So I would never take something you find on AI with at face value. I would never just look at it and go, okay, this is what's factual.
It's a
I think
tool.
it's a
It's a tool.
tool, and knowing how to use it correctly, I think, is really important because you can get a lot of bad information from it. And I know I think it was Grok was a big controversy because it was saying like anti-Semitic things. So the
And we're not
robots,
for that
no, we're not for that.
at
Um,
all. We're
the
not anti
robots
anybody.
are learning from what's called a large language model. And unfortunately, that means it learns from what it gets. So if a
Right.
bunch of people are putting anti Semitic crap into it, it's going to spit anti Semitic crap back out.
Right.
That is an unfortunate reality. And that's been the same with all AIs, because, like, in the past, they had those chatbots. I can't even remember what it was called. But it was like a chatbot. You could go in online and start talking to it, but the responses were curated based on responses it had gotten before to try and come up with what's appropriate. So like the AI itself isn't, racist or anti-Semitic or
Well, it's AI.
misogynist. It's a robot. It's code in a computer system somewhere. Unfortunately, it's learning from its interactions, and those interactions aren't all good.
So I think that's the important thing, though. So you might want to be careful about letting your kids just unfettered use AI.
Well, and
You know
another
what I mean? Like, because
concern,
kids are impressionable. Um, we've seen what's happened to the younger generation being on the internet and the crap they say, and they wholeheartedly believe it when they're hearing nasty things from other people who probably are damaged and refuse to fix themselves and they just spew crap online.
yeah, and I have seen some stuff, and it's definitely made me think twice about the way my social media presence is. So, like, obviously, you've seen my kids in the videos here for like brief clips and stuff, but there's been concerns about the image generation or image modification from AI. So, I mean, as a parent, I think it's important that you keep your social medias pretty private if you're going to post pictures of your children, just because people are gross. Uh, but I mean, I also know there are plenty of parents who just don't post pictures of their children ever, and I think that's great.
Probably very responsible. We're not that responsible.
We're not that responsible. I know my kids are all over our social media, but
So if you're not that responsible, we understand.
we understand. I'm not judging you either way, but if that is a concern of yours, because people are out there being horrible, and that hasn't changed, just the tools to be horrible have changed.
Right, and so like they'll take somebody's image and make them naked and stuff like that. So I hope if somebody
Yes.
does that to me, they put my boobs where they belong. That'd be nice.
Could they just make mine the same size? Because for some reason, Righty's looking real large lately, and I can't deal with this.
It
It's
is
not even
like
like,
I wouldn't care like if somebody did that to me. I know there's people that like feel hugely victimized by that. I'd be like, hey, look at that. I look pretty good
yeah.
naked. Thanks.
So definitely something to think about. It's, I think, going to change. I feel like since the advent of the internet being available in every home, parenting styles have had to change with the times because the concerns we have around how our children are interacting with the world are different.
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, this was not a concern at all. Nobody even had a PC.
Nobody even had digital cameras.
No, no, but we did have Polaroids, and that was really bad back in the day of for sick people because they didn't have to take the film to get it developed.
Yeah.
I
So,
don't
I
want to go
mean,
down that rabbit hole, but there's always been sick people in the world that used whatever technology that is available to be sick people. So be aware of that.
so in terms of AI, it can be a very useful tool. It can also be very concerning. So you definitely need to be aware of what's going on, I think, in terms of that and kind of keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on your kids, obviously. Um,
And always educate your kids. Talk, 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 you know?
yeah, and oh my God, I saw another one the other day. So I know we usually used crotch to like refer to your private parts.
Yes, which is
Yes.
probably not
I
everybody's norm.
saw one the other day where this lady told her son, boys have a hot dog and girls have a cookie. Please don't use food analogies. It is literally for your child's safety. Like, if you can't get on board with the anatomically correct terms because you don't want your kid walking around saying penis, at least use something like private parts, crotch.
Yeah, because you know what pissed me off when I drove bus for middle school? Remember when they were trying to get kids comfortable with saying the proper
Yeah,
words and they were like yelling out penis and vagina and then they were doing it on the bus? They're like, well, that's
yeah,
what our teacher had us do. I'm like, well, then do it in your teacher's class. Come
yeah.
on.
So, like with my kids, I tend to use either crotch or the correct term. Um, but my kids are also aware that like, hey, we that's not really nice to talk about in person in public. Like we don't talk about other people's privates. We keep our own privates private. And are they perfect at it? No, but my hope is by the time my kid is, in middle school, he's not going to be that dingle dink on the bus yelling out
Well,
penis.
it wasn't because of their parents. It was because of the stupid teacher.
It was because of the teacher, I know, because I was
You
in
went to
that
that
same health
class, didn't
class.
you?
Yeah.
Wasn't that ridiculous?
It was ridiculous, and I'm thinking, why are we doing this with penis, but you're not doing it with any other word?
Well, not only that, like, how freaking
Like,
juvenile. And it's middle school. Like, they know it's a penis or a vagina, for God's sake.
well, and quite frankly, they're talking about like anatomical differences and saying we should be using the correct terms, and then they were teaching people the incorrect terms about the female body.
What?
Because I'm like, the exterior genitalia on a woman is not a vagina, it's a vulva.
Right?
But they were just saying, this is the vagina. I'm like, that's not the vagina. So
No.
if you're going to use anatomically correct terms, use the correct ones. But,
I this is what I mean. I know everybody's for sex education, but like literally these teachers, some of them are bungholes. So we
more
forgive you,
hot,
Grandma.
more hot button topics because we got really into technology and AI and
We can
penises
cut a
and
lot of
vaginas.
that.
We, we'll be fine. Um, gentle parenting versus more realistic parenting. That was a hot button topic. And
I'm sorry, I hate gentle parenting, and I know it's a big thing, and I know people love it. I think it's dumb. And let me tell you why. I worked with children for 16 years, and I can tell within a minute who was gentle parented, and that's not a compliment.
now here's the thing, because people will always try to defend it and
I
basically
know they
say
do.
gentle parenting is authoritative parenting.
No, it's not.
It's not the same. If you are doing gentle parenting correctly, like the way that it's taught as this is gentle parenting, it can be very effective. The problem is most people are not doing it right, and what you end up doing is permissive parenting. And
You're letting those children run your home, and then they think they can run everything else, and they cannot.
yeah, it doesn't make children feel secure when nobody's running the ship. So I'm not saying you have to beat your children. I am not saying you
No,
even need to raise your voice at your
no.
children. And people will say this is gentle parenting to whatever. I think gentle parenting takes it too far. The idea that you should never say no, the idea that, basically your kids shouldn't have consequences.
Well, not just that, it's the validating every flippin' feeling. Yes, we all have feelings. Yes, your child should be able to express their feelings. But feelings, we have generations now, more than one generation of people who think that everybody should care about every feeling that they have. You should be able to recognize your feelings and then deal with those feelings internally. It is not the rest of society's job to make you feel good about every feeling you have. It's not real life, it's not fair to others, and we're turning out people that are so self centered, like they're little sociopaths. They think the only thing that matters is their feelings, but they don't care about anybody else's. There is a happy medium. There is a happy medium, folks.
Well, and with kids, I think there's a time. There is a time to help them process their emotions and things, but the argument I hear all the time why they say you should gentle parent is because kids don't understand
Yeah,
consequences
they
at
do.
a young age. So
They
if they
do.
don't understand consequences, they're not going to understand your lecture.
Right. And you're trying to get them to agree with you.
Right. So good points that were made. I guess you'd call it gentle parenting, but the one woman, she's a pediatric OT, she was talking about when kids are having a tantrum. When they're having a tantrum, their whole reasoning part of their brain, it's offline. They're in fight or flight mode. The best thing you can do at that point is you don't give them what they want.
Leave them alone.
You just basically leave them alone. When they calm down, they can come to you if they want to. If they don't want to, just let them do their thing. But you just kind of got to write it out. Like, you're not going to beat your child out of tantruming. So I'm
No.
not saying smack your kid for having a tantrum. They're like, if you're in public and your kid's causing a ruckus and being a beast,
Leave.
leave. Take your kid somewhere they can have their meltdown, regain their composure. And a lot of times, especially super little kids, they're having a tantrum because they're tired, they're hungry, or they're overstimulated. So take them away from the situation, give them a minute to take a breather, maybe give them a snack.
Mhm.
If you've been out all day and they're probably just tired, it might just be time to go home.
Yeah, and you can say to them, like, you know, take a few deep breaths, But you remove them from the situation. One, because everybody else shouldn't have to deal with your kid's tantrum. And I'm not saying like if they have a tantrum for like a minute or two, that's fine, whatever. But if it's like continuing and they're showing no signs of winding down, now you're starting to get stressed out because you know everybody's like, oh my God, everybody's looking at me, and especially if you have children who are neurodivergent, um, these things happen and it's stressful for you. Just remove them from the situation, even if it's just going into the bathroom, letting them have their tantrum, let them get their composure, get them a drink, like she said, a snack, tell them to breathe, whatever works for your child, and then you can go on with your day. But you don't have to have a big conversation about what just happened.
Well, and
They
that's the
don't,
thing.
they're not going to tell you why they had the tantrum. They don't know.
That's where I feel like gentle parenting fails. It's too much talking. And I'm not saying you
Yes.
shouldn't talk to your kids and you shouldn't ever explain why a rule exists or debrief a situation that happened. The difference is how are you handling it? I feel like with gentle parenting, it turns into a lot of lecturing without actually properly enforcing boundaries. And it's okay to let your kids sit with it. They're not always going to be happy with the decision that's the best for them. So, like,
Well, I see another thing too. Like a parent says no, and then their kid gets upset, and they either give in eventually, or they just keep lecturing them, and then you shouldn't act like that. Now the kid's sitting there stewing, but you just say no and leave them alone.
right, or the other one is
It's
rushing in to
no,
comfort them and I'm going to make it all better.
right?
It's okay. Your kids will have to learn throughout their life to deal with rejection, to deal with no. So, like, a great example yesterday, my son really wanted a third snack bag of Cheez Its, but I was less than 3 minutes away from setting the table for dinner. I told him no, his dad told him no, he threw a whole fit over it, but that was it. Like, I'm not going to give you this because you're throwing a fit. You're not going to manipulate me into giving it to you by throwing a fit, and we're just not going to discuss it further. I'm not going to comfort him because he's got emotions over that. He can work through them on his own.
Right.
And maybe some gentle parents out there are going to be clutching their pearls and saying that's horrible that I just let my baby be upset, but you know what? In 2 minutes, he was fine.
And here's the other thing. I think a lot of it is it's like the parents feel like, oh my God, my kid doesn't like me, or what. Like they have this like need for their child to like them. Your child's not always going to like you. If your kid likes you every second of every day, you're doing something wrong. I, both of my kids, and Lauren, not as much as her sister, have hated me, said terrible things about me, be it to my face or under my breath, under their breath, her under her breath, her sister right to my face. You know what? I don't care. I don't like you. Oh, that's fine. I don't like you right now either, but the answer is still no. You have to be the authority. You're not their friend. And that's the
Right.
same when I worked with children. I saw so many people, and I don't understand this because I didn't grow up this way. Adults did not used to be this way. Why are all these adults needing prepubescent children to be their friend? Like, I
Right.
don't want to be the cool adult, okay? I'm not going to high five you and be like, hey, buddy. No, I'm the authority, so I'm going to be the authority. I'm going to say hi. I'm going to say have a nice day. I cared about the children very much, but there was a strong line. I am not your buddy. I am the person in authority when I have you. That doesn't mean I wasn't friendly with them. Of course I was. I cared about those children, but there was no mistake. I didn't go to work with my hat turned around or, wearing the in thing for kids. No, it was very clear that I'm the adult and when something happens, like I drove a school bus. So like when something happens, like an emergency or something, those children were very comfortable and trusted me to make decisions in emergency situations. I had to evacuate the bus. I was stalled on a train track. In less than 60 seconds, I had 60 plus kids evacuated from the bus. They did exactly what I said. I didn't have to take a lot of time to get them to shut up and listen to what I was telling them to do because I was always the authority.
Yeah. And Two things, because I forgot to mention it earlier. So we talked about like the deep breathing and stuff. Those regulation coping techniques, the best time to teach those to your kids is not in the moment of crazy.
Oh,
It is before. So that's another spot where I think gentle parenting, you're sitting there telling them, do this, do that. You're just adding to the overstimulation when they're already in fight or flight mode if they don't already have that stuff as muscle memory.
hmm.
And I think I've talked about that before. Like with Henry, I taught him to, take a couple deep breaths, calm yourself down. We do that when he's not upset. So when he is upset, he goes, I need to take a deep breath. And he will sit there and he'll take a few deep breaths and calm himself down. The other one is the whole idea that you never yell at your kids. I'm not saying you should yell at your kids all the time, but your kids need to know who the authority is for situations exactly like you just described with the kids on the bus. If there is a dangerous situation, you need them to listen. You need them to listen now. And that's another thing, like we've done, and I've talked about this on the show too, we've done it as drills. Like, if this situation happens, you need to do this. And I make him repeat the answer back to me, and we go over it and over it and over it so that when the situation comes up and he knows I'm serious, I don't have to worry that he's not going to listen. Now, that's for super young kids. Older kids, they should know.
No, but I did it
But
on the bus with older kids too. I constantly told them, if I sh if the bus stops and I park it and I stand up and I turn around and look at you, everybody needs to be quiet. Everybody needs to look at me, because if we have an emergency, I'm going to need your attention now. And I would go over that with them at least twice a week, every week, every week. I had these children for years. They had to listen to that all the time. But the one time I had to evacuate the bus, I the bus was already stopped. I was stalled on a railroad track. I stood up, I turned around, everybody immediately was quiet and looked at me. I,
right.
you know what I
And
mean? It's repetition for children.
well, and quite frankly, I think it's probably better if you aren't yelling at your children all the time, so that when you do need to yell at them because your child is running towards the road and you
Right.
can't immediately physically stop them, they know, wait, mom's yelling, this is serious. And if you do have to yell at your kid in a situation like that, please don't beat yourself up over it. They're gonna be okay. Because there's just this whole push that you should just never yell at your kids ever. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not letting my kid run out into a busy street.
I scared them. Yeah, good.
Yeah, there are some times where you probably just need to scare your kid because it is that serious.
Yes.
Them getting hit by a car, that is that serious. They need to listen to you and understand you are the authority in that moment and they will not cross that line.
And if your children know from a very young age that you are the authority, and like she said, that doesn't mean beating your kids. It doesn't mean yelling at your kids all the time. It just means what you say goes. That's what it's gonna
Hmm.
be. You know, I said this, this is what's happening. You don't get a choice. You can have a choice when you're an adult, but until then, you don't. Like, and yes, we've talked about choices, but if I'm saying you need to do this, you need to do it. That's what's happening.
Right. And like one tick, I suppose, in the benefit of gentle parenting, like it does reduce a lot of struggle if you can give your kids choices within acceptable
Sure.
parameters. So, you know, do you want to wear the red pants or the blue? They're still putting the pants on because they have to put the pants on. But you can
Right.
give choices within that, and that gives kids a little bit of a sense of
But here's the
control in their own
if they've
lives.
always known that, when they get to the teen years, they are going to push back on you. I don't care how much of an authority you've been, they will. But there's a little trick when you've always been the authority and you get your kid lipping off to you. You can just stare them down and they will stop it. Because they
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're like, ooh, mom's not budging.
Well, and counting to three. I don't know why it
I
is.
don't know either.
Every single kid, because, like, okay, to be fair, with my kid, he has gotten to three many a time, but he knows that when I get to three, I'm going to make you do it. So usually I can get to one and he'll ignore me. I get to two and he goes, I'm doing it. And then he runs and does it because he doesn't want me to make him do it. And I know some people will say that's abusive, but like he knows he has 3 seconds to make the decision. Is he going to do it himself or am I going to come help him do it?
What's abusive is releasing a bunch of self-centered kids that think their feelings are the only feelings that matter and they can do whatever they want into society. It's really abusive to the other kids who don't act that way.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you, I've seen it, it's ugly. And then
yeah,
people who have to deal with that, like the bus driver, the teacher, whomever, and then later on, bosses, let me tell you what, uh, it's like you have to deprogram these children. Like, no, you know what? You have feelings. Great. Doesn't matter. This is what we're doing now. Because I have, you know, 30 other kids that I have to deal with. And these teachers are spending so much time with these kids that just give them resistance for everything that all the other kids are not learning what they could be learning because they don't have time. It's not fair to everybody else. Teach your kids. And I
yeah.
mean, I guess the point is if you're going to gentle parent, do not let it slip into permissive parenting because you're not doing your children any services. You're just not.
Right. So I think the rundown really, we're not opposed to gentle parenting done right because gentle parenting done right is essentially authoritative
Right.
parenting. The issue is a lot of people are not doing it right. And I
I
understand,
do
I get
too.
it. It is so hard to see your baby upset because I know I had to like talk myself through it yesterday with Ava at the store because she kept trying to smack Henry. So I took her cup away because you're not going to hit your brother with a weapon while I'm standing right here and I'm not just going to let you do it. But then she started crying and she wanted the cup back. And for a second, I was going to give in.
Hmm.
And that would be permissive parenting.
Hmm.
But no,
It
I
is,
set the
and it's
boundary.
really
You're
hard.
hitting your brother.
It's really hard not to do that, especially as a mom. I mean,
It's so
as
hard.
hard ass as I am, like, I would cry, like, almost every night over your sister because, like, I had to be so hard on her because she was a very rebellious child with me, not in public. Like, she was awesome in school. They would tell me how delightful she was. But with me, you know, there was a lot of resistance, and I'd be like, oh my God, am I messing my kid up? You know, I'd be crying, and then, you know, dad would be like, no, baby, you're doing a good job. Like, you know, so I get it. Like, I wanted to give in to her, but that
Well,
wouldn't have been doing her any favors.
and so the funny one about like teaching my kids the coping mechanisms when they're not upset. I got really upset last weekend because there was a pen in the dryer and it exploded and I was hormonal, I was PMSing, and I like lost it, like broke down crying, screaming, swearing, just pissed off at the whole day. But my toddler was up, so probably not like good form, but I was really losing my shit. And he's going, "It's okay, Mom. Take some deep breaths." And then he brought me a rock and he goes, "The rock will make you feel better."
Well, here's the thing too.
So
Like, oh shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. Sorry, it's the brain.
it's okay. No, so, and I'm not saying that in a way that, please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. Your child should not be responsible for your emotional
No,
state. It was
it
just
was
very
cute.
sweet that those lessons had taken it to a point where he was trying to remind me to do things to center myself.
Oh, what I was gonna say, a good thing about gentle parenting, as like it was first put out there, is the no yelling thing. Because the minute like you yell, like in an argument, I'm not talking like yeah, if your kid's running toward the road, you yell at them, whatever, or if they're about to do something dangerous. But you know, if like there's a back and forth with your kid, you know, they're getting a little rebellious, and you yell, they won.
Yeah, you've
It's
lost your cool.
you lost your cool. They were able to push your buttons, and they know it. So maintaining your cool is good, and really hard.
Hmm.
Depending on the child, you know, so every kid is different. But yeah, so you don't want to get there because they know they won, and they'll push those buttons again and again. And I know because I did it over and over, and I would tell myself like I'm not going to yell at this child today. I'm not going to yell at this child today. I'm not going to do that. And then so if you don't do it perfectly, give yourself some grace because I totally understand. And she still turned out okay, so it'll be all right. Just do the best you can.
So, another hot button issue it brought up, the mental load meltdown when marriage feels unequal. And we've talked about this too, like, because women are always talking about wanting to reduce the mental load.
Mhm.
I don't, I don't know if it's
It's
possible.
not possible.
Because even if your spouse takes over scheduling the doctor's appointments and doing all the things, you're still keeping that tally in your head. I don't know if there's a good fix for that. I think communicating your needs with your partner is important to get the support you need. If they're not willing to rise to the occasion and help you with those things, they're a butthole. Um,
Right, but we do need to understand that we're just kind of wired that way and we won't give ourselves a break.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like the way women look at their home, most women, and I think we're just wired this way, is we run it almost like a business, right? And so you're the CEO of this business and you've got all of that stuff in your head. Men don't really work like that. They really don't. It's like when they want to shut their brain off, they can shut it off. That's why they fall asleep so easily. And it's not because they're jerks. It's just they're wired different. So I don't know if you can reduce. I mean, you can reduce the mental load by giving tasks to other people and just trusting that they're going to get them done. But it's difficult to do, especially if you're a type A person. I am. So you know, it's hard to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Another one talking about fertility struggles and the good mother myth. Why some moms feel motherhood is portrayed as impossible or hellish. And
I mean, it kind
I
of
wanted to
is.
talk. It kind
It
of
kind
is.
of is.
I think the difference, and I mean, part of what we do on this show, it's talking about the reality of motherhood because it is hard. And I liked that it talked about the fertility. So infertility has been increasing. Like the rates of infertility have been increasing. There's a lot of factors leading into it. It's people having children at an older age, and not shitting on the older moms. I get it. Um,
I mean, if that's your
we're
time, that's your
having
time.
right. There's dietary issues, there's health issues on the rise that are causing issues with fertility. All of that aside, I get it in a very personal sense that when you've dealt with infertility and now you have this child and you're sitting there feeling like this is what I hoped for, this is what I prayed for, why does everything feel so difficult? So there is reality to it that you're excited, you're happy, you love your children. Of course, you love your children. It is also okay to acknowledge that raising tiny humans is friggin' hard.
And if you
Like,
say something terrible, like I hope you have a friend to say it to, and you never want to say it around your children, but I mean, I have said some stuff, in the
yeah,
throes of things, and then I feel so guilt. I would feel so like, oh my God, I can't even believe that crossed my mind. What a horrible mother. You're not a horrible mother. You're a human being, and everybody has terrible, intrusive thoughts sometimes. And like I don't like my kid. She's terrible, or whatever. I never said it to my children, but I have said it.
well, or even like, God, maybe I shouldn't have been a mom. Like, you feel really inequipped for it, or like, you feel like you're doing everything wrong because no matter what you do, you've tried all the techniques and all the things and all the tricks, and you've read all the books and listened to all the podcasts, and your kid still isn't cooperating even a little bit. And you think, clearly it's me. I did something wrong. I wasn't meant to be a parent. And that's not true either. That's those stupid, shitty, intrusive thoughts creeping in.
Well, there is no perfect parent. Like every parent's made mistakes. Every single one.
Yeah, and I saw
There's every single parent has made a mistake somewhere.
and I saw a woman talking about stay-at-home moms have no excuse for the house to be dirty. You should be going after your kids and picking up as they go. And I'm just here to tell you, as a stay-at-home mom, that's ridiculous. You deserve time to sit down in your friggin' day. I don't understand what this idea is that, like, if we put our kids in a daycare, we are paying somebody else to do that work. So why is it suddenly less valuable if you're doing it yourself? And that's not to shit on working moms, that's not to shit on stay-at-home moms, it's not to shit on anybody. It's just recognizing that it is work no matter which way you go, and you can't be perfect all the time. Your house will not always be perfectly clean if you have toddlers. It just is what it is, and it's okay to say, okay, the dishes can wait because I just need to sit down and drink my coffee while it's hot.
Well, okay, so some guy put on Facebook a picture of his wife. It was a very unflattering picture, and the house was a mess. And I could tell by the stuff that was on the floor that there were toddlers. And um, he said something in the caption, like she asked me, why I don't really, have the spark for her anymore, whatever. And I'm like, and then people in the comments were saying, well, like she let herself go, like she's overweight, she keeps a messy house, was a lot of the comments. And I finally commented back. I'm like, first of all, I'm like, to be fair, we don't know what he looks like because he only put a picture of his wife on there. I go, which instead of trying to figure out what's going on with them and working it out with her, he took a picture of her in a mess and put it on Facebook to validate whatever he was trying to say. I'm like, and to be fair, also, he keeps a messy house because he lives in the same house. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, why is it just everybody judges a woman when they see a messy house? Like, if she has a husband, he's living there too.
Well, and the whole I've seen so many crappy men talking about their spouse after she gave birth
Well, and
and
that's
how
the
she
other
let
thing about
herself
this woman
go.
in the picture too. We don't know if she just had a baby or you know what? It doesn't even matter. I don't even care if she got a little bit chubby. I don't know what she looked like before. Maybe she looked like that when they got married. Like, why would you take a picture of her and like let people ridicule your wife? What a POS.
I just don't get it. Like, my husband has such a blind spot when it comes to me that, like, when I was over 200 pounds after having a baby, he goes, I said something about needing to lose weight, and he's like, why? You're not even that big. I'm like, honey, really? No, you're not. Like, what's your BMI? I'm like, honey, my BMI is in the obese category. I do actually need to lose weight. Like, for my health and my mental state, I don't want to be this big. But, and I'm not saying over 200 pounds is bad, but for my height, it is too much weight to be carrying.
But when I was
But
250 pounds, your dad thought I was hot as hell. He had no idea how big I had gotten until I lost weight. And I had like old pants, and he's like, I didn't realize you were
exactly,
that big. You know?
exactly. I can't understand being with a man who wouldn't at least have somewhat of who wouldn't at least have enough love and appreciation and attraction towards me that he wouldn't love me regardless of how big I
But
got. You know what I mean?
I here's the thing. There is a huge swath of men that do not care about the woman at all. She's
Hmm.
literally just an object, and the vessel that's carrying that woman is the only thing that's important to them. These men, if you are with a man like that, that is a predatory man. He doesn't
Hmm.
see you as a human being, and that is a huge problem. It's and I feel bad for anybody who's with somebody like that, but there are in the number of men that are like that, it seems to be growing, and it's really concerning me because it's really undermining the mental health of a lot of women.
Yeah,
It really
for
is.
sure.
And you don't have to be a certain size.
And quite frankly, you deserve better. If you're with a man like that, you deserve better.
You absolutely do. And when I did lose a lot of weight and I am in good shape and I did all of that for myself. None of it was for
Hmm.
my husband. He loved me no matter what because he loves the woman that lives within this body, not just the body. Thank God, because I'm getting old now and it's going to break down sooner or later. You know what I mean? So, but and vice versa. How however, if my husband gains a few pounds, loses weight, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like I love him.
Well, and let's talk, just since we're talking about men, because one of the topics I put on here was like postpartum boundaries, but I want to talk about men in the birthing space
Okay,
because it's a new thing and it's not terribly new. I want to say it was the 50s or 60s
past
where
that,
it was past that.
past
I
that,
know
the
like the first
fifties,
couple
the fifties
in
were
the
not.
60s, I want to say, but
So,
it wasn't
uh,
common until
uh,
my lifetime.
so grandma and grandpa in Wisconsin, the first child that he was in the room was Kevin.
Hmm.
Like all the other ones, dads weren't in the room commonly. So he was pretty
Well, and
excited about that.
there are some communities still. I know Orthodox Jews and I believe Muslim women don't allow men in the birthing
No.
space. Um, if you want to have your partner there for the birth of your child, it can be a wonderful, magical experience for both of you. It can be good for your relationship, but it can also be really detrimental. And it is okay if they are not supporting you in a way that you need to tell them to leave. And if you can't do it, tell your nurse because nurses are awesome at kicking people out. Thankfully, like my husband was not as good with our first baby because I think he was pretty shell shocked. Like he had no idea what to do, and it was a rough labor in terms of the time we were in the hospital. But with our second, like he was fine. Like got me the things I needed, hung out, we had a good time. Um, but it's okay to not want your partner in the birth space. And I know that's controversial now because have a lot of men feel entitled to be there. It's my child. I should be able to see the birth of the child. It's not about them. It's not about anyone but you in that moment. I'm sorry, it's just not. So,
Yeah, I mean, Dad was pretty awesome. Um, he was the only calm person in the whole room because everything went bananas, and he was actually pretty calm, so that was great. But I personally, I don't know how I feel about men in there. I had Dad in there, and it was great. It was a great experience, but at the same time, like I kind of long for the days when it was just the ladies in there.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like I actually didn't mind with my second, they sent me home at 6 centimeters dilated, which they never should have done, but they did it anyway. It took me 20 hours to go from 6 to 10. And I spent most of that time at home by myself. Like, personally, I prefer to be in labor by myself for the most part. So, like, I took a bath, I laid down, I walked around. I basically just told my husband, go to sleep and be ready to get up when I tell you to. And that was good with me. Like, I much preferred laboring alone. I did tell him if we have more kids that he needs to learn the counter pressure thing that one labor nurse did when I was in transition because that was awesome. But
Yeah.
like other than that, he was just kind of there to keep me company in terms of when we were in the hospital and to go get me coffee and
I mean,
stuff.
like to be fair, whoever the people are that are in there with you, they can't really do much. I mean, it's got to be a really helpless feeling.
Yeah, and I think that's how he felt with our first with Henry because I mean it really was he was pretty there was nothing anybody could really do. I,
Right.
I was in so much pain I couldn't even
I
function.
mean, the only birth that I attended that weren't my own um, children was with your sister, and I mean that was a
Hmm.
C-section, so I literally couldn't. Like there was nothing for me to do other than kind of talk to her and freak out on the anesthesiologist when she flatlined. But yeah, it's a pretty helpless feeling, really.
Yeah, and
There's really nothing you can do except, hopefully be a comfort to the mom.
I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't have your partner in the delivery room. I'm just saying
It's
that
your choice.
it's your choice. Don't let them bully you into them being there. And it's okay to tell them to leave or get somebody else to. It really is, especially if they're not at least emotionally supportive. Like if they're berating you and making you feel bad, because I saw a video of this woman in labor who was like on her hands and knees, clearly in transition, and her boyfriend, husband, whatever he was sitting there like, come on, man, pull it together. I'm sorry, that man would be like he'd be carted out in a body bag. There's no friggin' way I would have
I
tolerated that.
I actually have kicked nurses out of my room in labor.
Yeah.
Like I'll fire
So
people in the middle of labor, but I'm like really I
yeah,
can
just
advocate for myself just fine.
don't tolerate that.
Mm-mm.
And quite frankly, I have not ever hired a doula, but if you're somebody who does have a harder time advocating for yourself,
That's what
see if your
doulas are for.
insurance will cover a doula because they will advocate for you when you can't. And if you have somebody like that poor woman with her POS, whatever he was, your doula will kick him out. So,
Maybe I should offer my services. Like, I'll go be your enforcer while you're in labor. You want
yeah,
them out
like,
of here? We get them out.
right. We're gonna go like The Godfather.
Right. No, I mean,
But
yeah, it is your moment. So it
a
needs to be what you
doula,
want.
if you have trouble advocating for yourself and you don't go the doula route, if you have a friend or a family member who's a little more like my mom, who's willing to just not care, maybe that's the person you need in labor and delivery with you because they're going to help you advocate. Because there comes a point in labor where you're going to have a harder time talking and advocating for yourself. So having somebody there who knows what you want, who can speak for you, can actually be really helpful. And that is one thing my husband was good for in the delivery room both times. Was there was a point both times where I wasn't really able to function, but he was able to say like, no, this is what she wrote down, this is what she wants done. So,
Well, s- sometimes it's easier to advocate for yourself when you have a support person there, though that and so I want to suggest that, like, so if you have, for anything really, if you have a kid who needs an IEP in school, any of those things, like any of those meetings that you have to be at, you can bring somebody with you. And it doesn't necessarily even mean that they're going to say anything, but just not feeling like you're there alone is very very helpful. And a lot of times, if you do have a situation like that, like if you have a child who, I don't, whatever the diagnosis is, that they need an IEP, or is it a 40, whatever, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I don't know. I just thought of this because we're having a situation like that in our family. Not a bad situation, just
No, not a
there's
bad one at
going to
all.
be a meeting, and my granddaughter's therapist said, I can be there with you. Um, and she was like, yeah, that'd be great, because, the therapist knows her, knows what she needs. So that's helpful for the school too, to come up with a plan that's beneficial to her. But it's also nice just to have your own person there so you don't feel like you're alone. Because I went to those meetings with a friend of mine years ago, and because she felt so intimidated because there was like all these school personnel there, and then it was just her.
Right. A lot of those situations, whether it's doctors or schools or whatever, it can definitely feel like
Intimidating.
you're outnumbered
Hmm.
and it's intimidating. So even just having somebody there to sit with you is helpful. Whether that's your spouse, your mom, your friend,
Whoever.
whoever, it doesn't matter.
And you have a
Just
right
to
to
have
bring
them
somebody
with you.
with you. You do,
Yes, always.
you know.
So,
So yeah, I was
but
in those meetings with her, and that went a lot better for her.
but I think we're gonna wrap up hot button topics there. So I'm not gonna do a whole rundown because we covered a bunch of shit. But if you have more hot button topics, you should drop them in the comments and definitely subscribe so you don't miss a video.
Yeah, like, subscribe, tell us you don't agree with us, whatever.
Yeah, tell me I'm an asshole for my views on gentle parenting.
Yeah, I mean, my views don't matter. I already raised my kids, so I won't get offended.
It's fine. We can check back in 20 years and see what my kids think about my parenting.
Yeah, could do that.
All right, peace out.